Coming up on this week's episode of CEO Yourself.
I think it's about taking opportunities, right? And not thinking about what's in it for me. If it is an opportunity that sounds interesting, do it.
Alyce Tran is co-founder of In the Roundhouse and currently working in London at LTK. Today on CEO Yourself, we deep dive her CEO superpower, flexibility. Alyce Tran, welcome to CEO Yourself and London.
Thank you so much. I love this little studio. I love your setup. So cool.
I love your cup.
Thank you. I realized this is being filmed, so I was like, I must have some product placement.
And that's where you're the branding marketing genius always.
Thank you. That's so kind.
So tell me, how is it being in London?
It's actually a very big adjustment. I kind of didn't seek to be here in London. I had been working part-time for LTK. For those of you who don't know, LTK is one of the largest influencer marketing platforms in the world. And I actually used to be a client of theirs. Then I started doing some consulting, and then it ended up, as a part-time job back in Sydney. And in Australia, we'd been running Rogue with my friend Ray Vakili, who sort of runs the business full-time in Australia for LTK. And I, doing interesting things with that business, pushing them into sort of new spaces. And I didn't really think anyone was noticing what I was doing. But lo and behold, they kind of did notice. And I was asked to come to London to kind of try to create more dynamic ways of working with brands that are on LTK. And we can go into detail around what it is. But essentially
push the boundaries.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
like
what you always do.
influencer marketing strategies for, the world's largest retailers effectively. And so I was invited to come, and I was like, I'm single at the moment. So I'm like, why not? And it's for a finite period of time. So, about a year. So it's a nice way of, I've never lived in London, and I thought, why not? It has been a big adjustment kind of working. Like last night I was up till 1 a.m. on calls with Australia, and then I got back up at 6 a.m. to get on a call at 7 a.m., which is 6 p.m. Sydney time. So that time adjustment and that adjustment of my workflow is hard. And also London is so hard to get around. I'm so used to getting from A to B really quickly. It took me 45 minutes to get here, and I was panicked. So there are certain aspects of I find it really interesting now being here. I'm like, why does every young person want to move here? It's cold and hard to get around. So in a nutshell, how is it going is
not that well.
It's not an easy run-in is what I probably want to express for those young Australians that might listen to this later.
No, and I appreciate that honesty, because it is a huge adjustment and it does take time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's talk about what you are working on in Sydney. I assume it's in the Roundhouse.
Yeah. So I have a very multi-hyphenate sort of career. I started my career as a lawyer, and I met another lawyer, sort of 2 years into lawyering. I was at a big law firm in Sydney. And we started a brand together called The Daily Edited. At first, it was a fashion brand. This will make me sound very millennial. But at the time, we thought outfits that you could wear from desk to drinks was kind of the thing that you would want. And now people don't even go from desk to drinks. People work from home. So it just sounds very archaic. But that was our concept, and it didn't actually work. We launched a small clothing line, and it just, it got kind of minor recognition in local press and things like that, but it never really captured the, imagination of a consumer. So then we pivoted into leather accessories after I was promoted as a lawyer, and I went into Louis Vuitton, and I've told this story a million times, but I wanted to buy a work folio, and it was at the time, now these prices will be cheap, but it was $2,500, which was too much for me at the time. And so I was like, I think, someone should make work accessories. And that's where that brand sort of started, and, still sold under The Daily Edited. So that's why that brand name was really weird. And it just sort of exploded.
I think it made sense because you did edit everything. Yeah, and you customized everything.
Yeah, well, I think,
But were you not customizing at the beginning?
We were.
Did that come later?
We were.
Okay.
But it was just sort of, it sounded like a newspaper or something if you started The Daily Edited, because it was like a blog with a daily edit of product, and then it became a fashion accessories brand. And that brand really captured the imagination of consumers, right? And it scaled really quickly. And, I kind of owed that to Instagram, influencer marketing and what have you, which is, kind of takes me to where I am today. And so within sort of a year of that line launching, my co-founder and I, we quit our jobs and we started running that business, and I ran that business for 7 years before selling my shares back to my co-founder. The business now lives another life, owned by a man who used to run Myer, which is a large Australian department store. He bought the business. It actually sadly went into administration after I left. Mm-hmm. I think, I will publicly say now, it goes to show that I did have a massive impact on that business when I was there. When you sort of start a business and you leave it, you're like, was that me, or was that the product, or was it the team? Or, it's obviously a combination of both. But in that instance, I did feel a level of validation, even though it shouldn't be like that, really. Anyway, Bernie Brooks now owns the brand, and he's sort of taken it in like a new direction. But it's a really lovely direction that I, quite like, and happy to look at and things like that. After that, it was 2021, and so we were in peak COVID in Australia. Once you sell a business, you're like, I'm going to travel. But like Australians, as you may remember, Hermione, we couldn't leave the country. You needed government permission to leave, and you really could only leave if you were like, it was some, major circumstance, right? So then that was when Ray and I sort of became closer friends, and she sort of came to me with LTK and was like, do you want to help me with this stuff? And I was like, yeah, why not? I know that business because I'd been a client through the Daily Edited. I'm excited by the platform and how it, can help brands and influencers. And so I was like, yes, I'll come and do that work 3 days a week. And at that time, In the Roundhouse had launched a tabletop homewares brand, very like geared towards, Gen Z millennials, because we felt like, I've got a co-founder in that business, Brooke, who I went to school with. We felt like there was nothing speaking to that younger market that was well designed and well price pointed. A lot of the people say it looks like the Daily Edited of homewares, because the Daily Edited made fashion accessories in like a leather category that could be personalized, accessible. We make kind of, that very designed, like let's say if we're looking at brands like Wedgwood or Richard Genori or something like that, which they're beautiful brands, they're not accessibly priced, whereas this brand is very accessible. And it's sort of it really blew up during COVID when, obviously if you look back at that time, people were very concerned around how their houses and things looked. There were all the DIY projects, and we don't need to go into that. But obviously we rode that wave, and that brand is very popular. So,
and again, you were rule breaking, because what I love about the work that you do and have always done is that you change consumer habits. For example, I would not have bought more than one set of plates.
Yes.
But because of you, I have multiple sets. And
yes,
because of you and the design work that you do and the styling, I am suddenly having friends over for lunch and it's Italian themed, or, it's blue and white themed, and it's because of you.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think part of that is us kind of training the consumer like that. Like, we sell this product like it's almost a fashion product, right? New season, limited edition, do an artistic collaboration, it sells out, we don't cut it again kind of thing. Very similar.
I spoke to a friend the other day who said, I need to quickly get on because I'm going to run out of this plate. I broke one. And that forces people. Well,
yes.
I should say it doesn't force. It encourages people to buy more and buy more regularly.
And it was funny because it wasn't intentional, and I knew that this had happened when a lady said to me, oh, my friend has the old season in the Roundhouse, but I need the new season.
Amazing.
And so I was like, at that point, I was like, oh, okay, we've done something here to this category. Before that, I was kind of just doing it.
Yeah.
and a lot of this is doing it because, I like newness. Imagine having to shoot the same product for years. I actually cannot understand how some brands do that, right? That, there are kind of traditional incumbent brands in this space that have run the same prints for like 150 years. And I imagine making content
boring.
Yeah. And so part of it is like, I want to shoot new things. So that a lot of that is driven by just my own personal want. I don't want to look at the same product all the time.
But you did the same with TDE in the sense that a normal consumer behavior would be to have one phone case.
Yes,
and I
exactly.
think I had about 20.
Yeah.
It was indulgent, but you did set the price point at a place where you could buy all sorts of patterns and initials and comments.
I think where I come from is like, it's hard now because it's years between when I was that girl. But when I was 27, when you're 27, you're kind of just making in your career and you think you can have sort of nice things. You know, when you're first out of university, you can't afford anything, right? And then you sort of get to 27, 28 and you start sort of progressing in your career and you want things. But it's hard because, you know, we all know cost of living, everything's gone up. I don't need to go on about that either.
You have all your bills, you need to pay rent, but you do want fresh new things.
And I kind of remember what it's like to be that customer and live on a certain budget, but want to have, as you say, a level of newness, because otherwise it's a bit boring. But yeah.
Something you've done really cleverly as well is collaborations. Talk to me about what inspires the collaborations.
A lot of the time it's like something that I want to do for the range, you know, or create, like I want to create a product, but I visually can't think of how to do it, or I'll try to do it myself with my designer and it doesn't look good. And then we go, who is someone that we can engage to work on this? So that's kind of like baseline artistic product. So we did a collaboration with an artist based here called Tatiana Alida. And I wanted to do something around tarot, because, you know, tarot and horoscopy stuff was like, you know, very of the moment a little while ago. I can't draw tarot. A lot of the patterns that you see on In the Roundhouse, I've drawn. People are like, who did this? And I'm like, I did.
You drew them?
Yeah.
No.
Anything that's not named like Damon Downey or Tabitha Hope is done by me, right?
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not going to be like Alyce Tran playing that. Yeah, that's part of being able to create product.
That's incredible, Alyce.
But that's what people don't see me.
Why am I so surprised by that?
But when you think about it, I create all the content, I create all the brand.
Yeah, so you are very
so I'm
creative,
creative, right? But I think the way that people see me is that I'm also competent in business. So then it's like they can't sort of put the fact that, you know, someone can do both. Not to say that I'm as creative as like JW Anderson or anything like that, but, you know, creative enough to kind of get away with, you know, creating a business and running it well to sort of be successful in that space.
That's interesting. So you wear both hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And also let's talk about influencer marketing, because obviously you're the G at influencer marketing. I don't know if anyone knows, but I actually consulted to Alyce, which is, I don't know if we became friends first or worked together first.
Actually, Hermione helped me launch the Daily Edited into the UK.
Yeah, and what I loved about working with you is you are the easiest client I've ever had.
Thank you.
Because you take people and you trust them. You give them full authority.
I don't have time to do the ground.
You don't micromanage at all. You basically go, you see talent and you go, okay, yeah, this is what you're good at. Go and do it. You say, whatever I can do to support it, I will. The craziest things I'd come to you with and you'd be like, yep, it's done. And it would be done before I even had a second to think about it. You're the fastest worker I've ever worked with. Most competent, most efficient,
That's so
but
nice.
most trusting.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably one of your superpowers.
That is really nice. I actually, no, it mainly comes from a place where I haven't actually had any issues with working with someone. There have been a few times where I've worked with someone and I've not enjoyed it because I've not enjoyed, you know, their pace or whatever. It just means that I won't work with them again. But generally everyone that we meet, we're very lucky, is very competent. So I'm like, you know, happy to sort of take their lead. There are times when I don't, you know, there have been other people that I've engaged where I haven't given them any feedback and I have just not moved forward with their ideas if I just don't like them. So I think that's part of it. But, you know, you and I are very similar, so I think it works well.
Yeah, and I think we then became friends. I can't remember which way around it was.
Yes.
But either way, we're still friends, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that was years on, like 7 years on.
Okay, so moving forward to today, you're here in London. You're still running
in the Roundhouse.
The Roundhouse. You have multiple hats every single day. How do you do it all?
It's, well, like I said on the way in here, I was like, it's a little bit crazy. I guess the thing is that the reason why I can do it all, and it's very different because I see team members say struggle with their work, whether that be in the Roundhouse or at LTK, or there's other investments that I have where, you know, I might just sit on the board. So I'm on the board of 2 companies where I'm not like in the nitty gritty. But I see when people struggle is when they don't understand the work or it doesn't resonate with them. Everything I do resonates with me. I know how to do it. Like I know how to pitch to a particular brand. Like I know what I want to present to them. It's just a matter of getting it out onto a piece of paper. I know what I need to do for In the Roundhouse. I just need to like gesticulate over the idea, like, you know. So it's so easy for me. And that is why I'm able to get through a huge volume of the work, because we're not saving lives here. This is not like intellectually draining for me. It might be for another person if it doesn't quite gel with them, but like in the Roundhouse, the creation of product and the creation of the funnel to sell that product is like, I don't even need to think about it. Like, it just is.
It just happens.
Yeah. In LTK, the problems that brands or businesses have are like very, to me, easily solvable. What I have there as the problems are like using the systems, which I haven't actually had to interact with a lot. And, you know, that's another one of the things is like, you know, joining another business is kind of respecting the systems that they have and the other people in the team to kind of create the outcome. That's probably the only sticking point. But
because the processes do slow you down.
The process is, yeah. But then it's like, you know, I just have to be more patient. There's no point in me spinning up 20 new presentations, new ways of working with brands, and then there's no one there to execute it. So it is sort of, yes, I can be super responsive. It's funny because someone who works with me, Ray, was like, you respond so quickly that it doesn't give people a chance to think about it themselves and come up. And, you know, so therefore it's hard to work for me in that environment because I've already given them the answer within 5 seconds. That's a challenging thing for me and something that I need to, and I kind of said to her, so what do you want me to do? Schedule send? Like, rather, because, you know, at the end of the day.
I love a scheduled send.
Yeah, like I'm here to, at the end of the day, business is about making money. I'm here to generate business for the business, and I will do it at the pace that I work at in order to make money for the business. So it is an interesting balance, an interesting management thing that I haven't actually had to deal with before. So that's sort of a, you know, kind of a journey in like being flexible and working with others.
And let's talk about what's next for Alyce, because you have had such an extraordinary career journey, you know, from lawyer to opening the Daily Edited stores in New York to pivoting, doing in the Roundhouse, now pivoting again, being in London, being on boards, being at LTK. What's next for you? What is the dream kind of scenario for you for the next few years?
I've yet to kind of figure this out. So I think people find it very puzzling as to why I would agree to work for someone and in a team and things.
I was shocked.
They're like, it's not very you. Mm-hmm. Even my own family say that.
Because you're the ultimate entrepreneur.
I get that.
And successful entrepreneur too.
So there's this sort of the two pathways, really. One is to continue creating businesses and selling them and making money that way. That's, you know. Or the other is to be a seasoned executive at a major retailer. And that is something that sometimes I look up to people, again, like I don't know who the listener base of this podcast will be, but let's say it's like Natalie Massenet, or in Australia it would be like a man like Mark McInnes, who used to run David Jones and, you know, is now going to work with Solomon Lew, I think. Is he going to work for Solomon Lew? In any event, he is like one of Australia's most seasoned executives and he has done really well. And I go, oh, in order for me to go down that path, I can't just jump into a role that he had. Like, you know, I need to sort of put my runs on the board in corporate. So that's why I started to lean more into my role at LTK to see if that is something I can do. And I am like, we're 3 weeks in, so I actually do not know if I can do this, but at least I am giving it a go. Yeah, and then I will know, actually, my path is not to work for someone, as great as that is, and it can be a very fulfilling career, obviously. I don't like, you know, it might be that I don't like to answer to people. I don't like to change my style of working to suit others. I know that sounds so bad, right?
No, it
but
doesn't.
That's part of it. Like that is part of working in a larger organization. You can't just be this is what we're doing. Even at the CEO level, you're still reporting into the board and whatever. So
I think what resonates with you with what you've said there for me is that you intrinsically know your strengths and weaknesses.
It's kind of, how do you develop yourself at our age, right? So we're in like your mid-30s, I'm mid to late 30s now. And you sort of get to this point in your career where it's up to you to develop it. So this is my way of developing my skill set. Like, yeah, I can go and do an MBA or something, but realistically, like I'm going to learn more doing this, working in real life in a large organization. When you're in the same environment and the same issues all day, every day, I think it can be, you're quite
a little repetitive.
taxing. Maybe that's like a big lesson around, I think, these days with hybrid working and businesses trying to be as efficient as possible, right? Can we get a fractional CTO? Can we get a fractional CMO? All of that, this word fractional, prorated, we don't want to carry the huge cost of a talent at that level, but we'll prorate it. It's really interesting because you can do that because the work environment has changed so much. I don't think the idea of part-time work or work from home, a lot of things exist now that allow you to wear multiple hats. Yeah.
So let's move on to your CEO superpower for the listener, which you selected flexibility, which I think is there were so many CEO superpowers I thought of when I thought of you.
Oh,
so
really?
I was so excited.
What were others?
I think efficiency.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You move at like the most insane pace. It's extraordinary. Like I messaged Alyce 2 days ago saying, can you send me your bio? And it was in my inbox within about 34 seconds. You didn't even reply to the WhatsApp. It was just done. Nobody works at that level.
Only because small tasks like that I prefer to just do. Because if it's like goes onto a to-do list, then it just doesn't get done. Like simple. If you wrote me an email asking my opinion around, the like marketing strategy for a ingestible beauty brand and what, I wouldn't respond within 5 seconds.
No, but it would be probably within a day.
A day, yeah.
No, it's extraordinary the speed at which you work. I also think pivoting, like your ability to move.
Well, like a pivot and the flexibility thing, I think that's sort of, the theme.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's deep dive into flexibility. How have you used flexibility to get to where you are today?
It is saying yes to opportunities and leaning into them and working around others. Not being so rigid in what I think my career will be. Like we just had the discussion around like, I don't even know. So if something comes up, then would be open to being flexible about it. Like I was flexible about moving to London. I got 2 weeks notice and, kind of put some knickknacks away in my house and that's it, So it is part of that kind of enables you to, sometimes I meet people with a life plan and I'm like, I love that for you. That's cool.
But that's not me.
No, it's not like, and I think in being flexible and being able to pivot means you're just learning more and more. Like I was talking to, again, a headhunter the other night about my career and they were like, whoa. We don't normally interview or speak to people like you. It's because, so it's a very unorthodox, a very traditional career that's now a very modern career. Part of that is being flexible.
So other than moving to London and taking the LTK position, where in your businesses have you been really flexible? Do you have any really amazing examples?
Okay, so at the moment I'm trying to acquire a business with a friend and, there's been multiple structures around how this would work. Do we do this with, a VC fund? Do we do this with just ourselves and one other investor? And I'm like so easy. I was like, whatever you think is the best path, friend, as long as you acquire the asset and we can add value to it to, see where it takes us in the future. I am now at the, I'm happy to take the lead. Like if she said to me, I'm out, like I can't, I'm too tired, I can't look at this, and I would take the lead. But when I'm working with someone who kind of wants to, knows the path that they're on, I'm happy to let them do it and work around them as well. Sort of gotten to a point where I've done so many things that like there's nothing new that you could like freak me out by. So I'm happy to be.
So it's flexibility and it's trust because you're really trusting people around you.
I know. One of the things in this particular acquisition, there was like a term sheet and I was like, it's fine. We've got the term sheet. We don't need the all of the documentation. And she was like, no, we need the full docs. And I was like, oh no, we kind of like know everyone. Like it's fine, and. So, and someone said, you're very trusting. And I'm like, even though I have had difficult times in business, still very trusting. So I don't know why. I just think it's small biscuits.
Yeah. And what would you say to the listener out there who is trying to be open and trusting and flexible in their approach to their career? who supports you in that? Like, who is your support network? I know you're very close with your sister Caro and your parents, or does it all come from within?
It's just my personality. I'm not one of those friends or one of those people that counts the runs on the board or whatever either way. Like, I feel like when you do things that you like and you pursue things in a way that is respectful and mindful of others at the very least, then it just sort of all comes back. Like, you don't need to. I think maybe where the trouble is when people get too individualistic. You know, I see that in a large organization where it's like individual KPIs leading to people not working together, you know, things like that. And, you know, I have such a, you know, big picture mindset. So a lot of people describe me as that, like as a, you know, the more the strategic thinker rather than the like granular, how many plates did we sell today? I don't really care how many we sold today. I just look at it you know, monthly in aggregate. And if it's bad, then we'll, you know, pivot the strategy for the next month. So I'm not kind of looking at things in that sort of really short term, I'm going to get something out of this way. Even with working with LTK, I'm like, oh, you know, if it doesn't work out, I've got a really great relationship with the founder. They're probably likely to help me out with the brands that I'm going to launch after. So like whatever, you know, I'll do my best for her while I'm in the business. So
yeah, I think it does come from within with you because you're also, as a friend, I don't feel like you'd ever be like, should I do this or should I do that? You wouldn't come to me for advice. You would just automatically know what to do.
Yeah, I just do.
Where do you think that comes from? Did your parents instill that in you as a child, or
just the blind kind of doing and rushing through things? I don't know. I think it's just part of my personality. I don't
just get it done.
Yeah,
just do it.
And it works really well in business. Sometimes it doesn't work so well in like personal life. Maybe, you know, like I go on a first date with a guy and I'm like, marry me. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't work. So
or never again.
Yeah, exactly. And I never get a second date.
Chance.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, there's wins and losses in a personality trait like that. From a business perspective, it means tremendous productivity, like no friction. People like working with me. Like girls listening to this, and you know, I know it, and because I have team members that have worked with me for more than a decade, and we're mid to late 30s, which means that we're not, you know, like they've had massive loyalty. People wouldn't work for me or seek me out if I was horrible. So I know that like that
I'd love
works.
to work for you again, Alyce.
Yeah, I know that
I'm
works.
looking for a job.
Yeah, that works in business. Whether or not it works in other, you know, familial relationships, romantic relationships is another thing. Yeah.
I love that. Again, so honest and real with yourself always.
Oh God, I know, but like, what do I do? I was texting a friend last night going, oh, I've been hanging out with this guy. How do I not friend zone this and turn this into a business thing? You know, because I'm like,
that happens to me
you know,
a
like,
lot.
or like, you know, when a guy texts you and you like text them back straight away. Don't text them back straight away because I text them back straight away.
No,
You're
definitely
too available.
Definitely text them back straight away. I hate the games. The games don't work.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so again, I'm just trying to emphasize for the listener how they can be flexible. And it's hard because a lot of that I do feel comes from within.
I think it's
with
about
you.
taking opportunities, right? And not thinking about what's in it for me. If it is an opportunity that sounds interesting, do it rather than go try to like, you know, if at work they ask you to do something and you're like, oh, it's a little bit like out of my scope, but I know, you know, if you're going to learn a new skill, you'll move forward. Do you want to move forward or not? Just do it. Like, don't try to navigate this in a way that doesn't benefit the other person or doesn't benefit you. Like, I see that a little bit. It's just too granular in thinking. So,
and I think what really resonates with me, which I hope resonates with the listener, is your point earlier about not knowing exactly where your career is going to go. And even having had all the success that you have had, you still don't know exactly where it's going to go. And that's okay, because there is so much emphasis these days on knowing exactly where you want to go.
Not knowing, but like thinking this will lead to that. Like, I think you just have to
take the opportunities.
Yeah. So if we're going to like distill that, it's like taking opportunities. If you want to progress in your career, it's being open to different things that, you know, come your way that may not make sense at the time. like this doesn't, like me being in London doesn't quite make sense. I'm really yet to like work out what it is that I'm doing.
It doesn't make sense in the depths of winter, but it will in summer.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No, but I think I talk a lot about course correcting and just doing the very best you can with what you have in that moment. Like I always laugh with my family that I'm a massive try-hard, and I've always been a try-hard. Like being a try-hard has a negative connotation, but actually I think it's such a positive word, and it should have a positive association.
No, I agree with you on it's got nothing to do with flexibility, but at school I wasn't the smartest girl in the group. I have like a very academic group of friends, like about 15 of us, and one of them's like a international lawyer in The Hague, one of them is a cardiologist just come back from like the Mayo Clinic. They're all like these brilliant girls. I was definitely not the smartest, but I tried the hardest.
Me too.
So
that's probably why we always got along.
No, and then I got there and it's fine. But that's got nothing to do with flexibility. But that gives...
No, but I do think it helps the listener, because part of being flexible is just taking the opportunity that arises, but you then have to show up and work really hard at that opportunity.
Yes, which is sort of like a very old school mentality. It's very millennial of us to say that. So that's why hustle culture.
I'm showing my age.
Girls start like...
In a boundaried way.
Young women aren't into that anymore. And that's why I'm saying flexible is a different thing to hustling. In our generation was hustling. Jesus, if you use that, if you lead with that word in this piece of content, that it is very in itself old.
Well, I am old.
Being flexible.
I'm showing my age, guys.
No, but this is what I mean, because I hang out with like young people a lot. So yeah, flexibility, because it has lots of different. Flexibility means. Some people look at that and go flexible workplace, like, but I'm like, no, it's about you being flexible in yourself and understanding things. If you don't get the promotion, it will lead to something else, or, you move into this other job. It's about, taking it as it comes, kind of thing.
I hope you're loving this week's episode. To find more inspirational resources and to shop our new product range, visit ceoyourself.com. This has been such an inspiring and incredible conversation, Alyce. You are absolutely amazing, and I've always loved
so nice.
Watching what you do and seeing where you take it.
Likewise.
No, truly, like you are so creative, so hardworking, so kind and generous with all of your friends. You never ask anything, you always give, and it's such a beautiful quality.
I did ask you for something.
No, I think that you're an incredible, inspiring, wonderful woman in business.
Thank you.
Who I hope people who listen to this can learn so much about how to be flexible and how to take opportunities and how to use them to their advantage. And I hope that they're hearing these two old women say, don't work as hard as we did. Don't miss out on the things that matter in life.
Oh, don't worry about that hustle. I'm interested to understand what the next trend will be, because do you not think that was the defining thing for our age group? Like Emily Weiss, like Jen Rubio, who had Away, like the Nasty Gal founder, Sophia Amoruso, those women embodied the age group that we're in. Who is it in that next group, down, who defined her generation? Yeah.
I feel this will be a really interesting conversation for the younger generation in particular to hear, and our peers to hear, because someone like you seems to so totally have their career together and like such. I would have assumed that you knew exactly where you're going to be in 12 months and 24 and, in the next 5 years.
If only, yeah.
It's quite reassuring to hear that you are also just taking the opportunities as they come and giving them your best and seeing where they take you.
Thank you. We can't plan for it. You just got to take it.
I love that. So what is your legacy piece of advice for our listener today? It doesn't have to do with your superpower.
Yeah, no, it is related. It's just like one of the things that I've said time and time again is just do it. Like I hear so many times people have ideas or, want to pursue something. And it's like, okay, stop talking about it to me. Just go and do it. Like I can't help you with this. Like it's either going to work or not. Like I often say to like people will be like, I've got this app idea. I'm like, yeah, cool. Start a WhatsApp group, basically manually working your app idea. And if your friends do not like this, forget it. Like if they're not like engaged in your WhatsApp group with your new delivery proposition or your new clothes swap proposition or whatever it is, then don't worry about it. I think a lot of the time, there's this illusion that, like a bit, it takes a lot. It does take a lot to start a business. Like we're not going to lie, but you can start off an idea with nothing. The daily editor started with $5,000 investment each from my co-founder and I.
What was your first leather goods product?
A pouch with the zip. In the Roundhouse, a bit different because we wanted to invest more in product, but even then it was $50,000. When I tell people $50,000 to start that brand and that brand that it is today, and it's only been like 4 years, they're like, what? These are really good investments. And I'm like, well, it takes a lot of execution as well, but they don't. I know that's, I don't want to make that sound like a small amount of money, but it is something that someone can work towards. If that's what
I heard on a podcast the other day that there was actually a Facebook before Facebook on the same campus.
Yeah, okay.
They had a network set up at, I think it was Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Before Mark Zuckerberg brought out Facebook, and they just, once they all arrived on campus, they were like, well, we don't need this anymore because we're all here together.
Oh,
so they let the concept die. And then he obviously launched Facebook.
Yeah.
Which is just extraordinary because that's, to your point, just do it.
Yeah.
Like just get out there and do the thing
if
and then keep doing it.
Yes.
And it will become
it become a thing. It just takes years.
Don't just have an idea or just don't start and
stop. It's not going to be like this huge thing that everyone downloads or everyone buys at the start.
Exactly.
It just takes like that repetition.
It does take time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So where can the listener find you?
Come and comment something funny on my TikTok.
Also, TikTok's your lead platform now.
Not lead, but for this type of stuff, I explain a lot more in like my voiceovers around what I'm doing than Instagram, which to me is still very much static imagery because I think reels are lame. Like reels are lame. Just make the TikTok, So
okay, so you're on Instagram at Alyce Tran, at
TikTok,
In the Roundhouse.
At In the Roundhouse, that is me responding.
Amazing.
And then TikTok, yeah.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It would mean the world to me if you would share today's episode with someone you feel would enjoy it. And don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and leave a comment.